When a man pays attention to the little details, he's doing something far more meaningful than most people realize. It may look simple on the surface, remembering how you take your coffee, what you said about your childhood dog, or the fact that you don't like scary movies. But beneath those small actions lies something powerful: emotional investment. Anyone can make grand gestures. Flowers on Valentine's Day. That's easy. Taking you out to dinner on your birthday. Sure, it's thoughtful, but it's also expected. What reveals how deeply a man is emotionally involved isn't what he does when the calendar reminds him. It's what he remembers when no one's watching, when there's no obligation, and when there's nothing in it for him except the joy of making you feel seen. The little details are a window into his attention, and attention is one of the purest forms of love. Let's think about this. We only remember the things we value. Our brains are constantly filtering information, deciding what to keep and what to discard. So if he remembers your exact coffee order, the name of your best friend, or that you were nervous about a presentation on Wednesday, that's not a coincidence. That's his brain saying, this person matters to me. Those aren't just facts, they're symbols of care. Now, attention to detail doesn't mean he's trying to win points or impress you. It means he's emotionally connected enough to notice. And not just notice, but internalize. That's the difference. Anyone can listen to you say you like red wine. But someone who's emotionally attached, he'll not only remember that, he'll show up with your favorite bottle after a long week, unprompted. Not because he wants anything in return, but because he gets joy from making you feel understood. That kind of attention is deeply intimate. In fact, this kind of awareness often shows up in how he tailors his actions to your needs. Not because you ask, but because he wants to. Maybe he knows you're sensitive to noise, so he suggests a quieter place for dinner. Maybe he sees how much you light up when you talk about your passion project, so he follows up and asks how it's going, even if you haven't mentioned it in a while. These small acts say, I see you, I hear you, I care about your inner world. When a man is emotionally detached, he may still say all the right things, but the details slip. You'll tell him something meaningful, and days later, he'll ask about it again as if it's the first time. He'll show up with something that feels generic or forgettable, a gift that could have been for anyone. But when a man is emotionally invested, his actions reflect not just effort, but personalization. He's not just treating you well, he's treating you well based on who you are. And here's the beautiful truth. Attention to detail isn't about perfection. He might still forget something now and then. We all do. What matters is that he's trying, that he listens with the intent to understand, not just to respond, that he follows up on the things you casually mention, that he adjusts his behavior because he cares about your comfort, your happiness, and your emotional experience. That level of presence doesn't happen unless there's a deeper emotional tie. What's also important to understand is that many men struggle to verbalize their emotions. They may not say, I'm getting emotionally attached, but they'll show it. Not necessarily through romantic speeches, but through remembering that you mentioned your mom hasn't been feeling well and asking how she is. Through noticing when you're quieter than usual and gently checking in. Through recalling your favorite comfort food and ordering it on a night when you're exhausted. These are not small things. These are huge emotional signals. This level of attention is a form of vulnerability. It means he's letting you live in his mental space. You're not just someone he enjoys spending time with. You're someone he's thinking about when you're not around. And that's emotional intimacy. That's connection. That's attachment. Also, let's not ignore the flip side of this. When someone doesn't remember the little things, it can feel like they're not really listening, like they're not invested. And you're not wrong to feel that way. Because when someone truly values you, they won't always get it right, but they will care enough to try. That care shows up in remembering the small details that others overlook. The truth is, anyone can say the right words, but it takes real emotional engagement to remember the quiet things. The things you didn't think anyone caught. The things that matter to you even if they don't seem important to the outside world. When he holds on to those, when he brings them back in ways that make you feel recognized, he's doing more than being sweet. He's showing you that you've taken root in his mind, and probably in his heart too. When a man wants to make you part of his world, he's revealing something far deeper than just romantic interest. He's showing signs of emotional attachment. And here's what's important to understand. This isn't about surface level gestures like posting a photo together or updating a relationship status. Those things might be public, but they don't always reflect intimacy. Real emotional investment is quieter, more intentional. It's in the way he starts weaving you into the fabric of his life. Slowly, deliberately, and meaningfully. You'll begin to notice it in the small invitations. He doesn't just make time for you, he includes you. Not just in dates and dinners, but in moments that reveal who he is outside of the relationship. Maybe he invites you to a game night with his friends, or to brunch with his siblings. Maybe he wants to show you the park he used to go to as a kid, or asks you to join him at an event that matters to him, his friend's birthday, a work celebration, or even just a casual Sunday at his favorite cafe. That's not just quality time. That's exposure. That's him pulling back the curtain on his life and saying, "Come see who I really am." Men are protective of their world, their routines, their people, their personal space. They don't just invite anyone into it. So when he starts opening that door for you, it's a significant sign. It means he's not compartmentalizing your connection. He's not keeping you in a relationship bubble that's separate from the rest of his life. Instead, he's allowing your presence to blend into the bigger picture. And here's the key. It's not just about introducing you to his world. It's about how he reacts once you're there. Does he watch how you interact with his friends? Does he look proud to have you beside him? Does he follow up later and say things like, "They really liked you," or "I'm so glad you came. It meant a lot to me"? These responses tell you everything. Because when a man is emotionally attached, your presence in his world doesn't just feel convenient, it feels meaningful. There's also a shift in how he communicates. It's no longer just "I did this today, but we should do this together sometime." It's not just "I've been wanting to try that restaurant, but you and I should check it out." You go from being a separate entity in his life to a thought partner, someone he naturally includes in his plans, dreams, and future decisions. And let's talk about family for a second. When a man is emotionally attached, he starts thinking about how you'd fit in with the people who matter most to him. He might bring up his parents more. He might mention something about how his sister would get along with you. He starts imagining what it would be like to blend those two worlds, the one he's built and the one he's building with you. He's not just falling for you in the moment. He's considering what it would look like to build a life with you long term. This integration isn't always flashy, it's often subtle. Maybe he starts leaving a toothbrush for you at his place. Maybe he clears a drawer for your things. Maybe he starts asking for your opinion on big decisions, like changing jobs or moving apartments. These are all ways of saying, "I want your voice in my life. I value your presence. I see you here, with me, going forward." This kind of inclusion takes vulnerability. To bring someone into your world is to expose the parts of your life that aren't polished or perfect. Your awkward family dynamics, your messy friend group, your weird habits and routines. So when a man invites you into that space, it's a sign of trust. He's not trying to impress you anymore. He's trying to connect with you on a deeper level. He's not just dating you. He's gradually making room for you. And this is the opposite of how emotionally unavailable men behave. If you're constantly dating guys who want to keep things casual or surface level, you'll notice a clear pattern. They compartmentalize. They give you time, maybe even affection, but they don't give you access. You never meet the friends. You never see the real routine. They don't ask you to be part of the big moments or share their real problems. You're close, but not in. But when a man is emotionally invested, he stops seeing you as just someone he dates. And it's not always about big declarations or dramatic gestures. Often it's as simple as him saying, "I want you to be there," or "I'd love for you to meet them," or even just, "I thought of you when I saw this." These are not small things. These are doors opening. And the more emotionally attached he becomes, the more naturally you'll find yourself integrated. Not because you asked, not because you demanded, but because he wants you there. He wants you to know his people. He wants you to see his world. And most importantly, he wants to see how you fit into it. That is not just romance. That is emotional significance. That is connection. That is a man who sees you not just as part of his present, but part of his future. When a man begins to get vulnerable, even in small ways, it's one of the clearest indicators that he's emotionally attached. Vulnerability isn't always about tearful confessions or long monologues about his childhood wounds. Often it starts in subtle, almost easy to miss ways. A comment here, a hesitation there, a small revelation he didn't have to share, but did. Those moments matter more than we realize. For many men, vulnerability is a foreign language. They're taught from a young age to suppress feelings, to be strong, to solve problems silently and independently. So when a man starts to drop his guard, even just a little, you're not just witnessing trust, you're witnessing transformation. He's letting you see a version of him that isn't curated, polished, or performance-based. He's saying, this is me, not the version I think you'll like, but the one I actually am. And here's the thing. Vulnerability always carries risk. It's the risk of being judged, misunderstood, or even rejected. So when a man chooses to share a piece of his inner world, especially something unflattering, uncertain, or uncomfortable, what he's really saying is, I feel safe with you. Safety is the foundation of emotional intimacy. Without it, real connection doesn't happen. You'll notice this kind of vulnerability in the small cracks in his armor. Maybe he tells you he's scared of failing in his career, even though he usually plays it cool and confident. Maybe he admits he's not sure what he's doing in life, even though he usually gives off the impression of having it all together. Maybe he shares something he regrets from his past, not to gain sympathy, but because he wants you to understand where he's coming from. These aren't just random confessions. They're tests of emotional closeness. When a man opens up to you, he's testing whether you'll still accept him without the mask. If you do, if you respond with empathy instead of criticism, he relaxes a little more, he gets a little more open, and that's how attachment deepens. Vulnerability met with compassion creates emotional security, and emotional security leads to lasting connection. Sometimes vulnerability shows up not in what he says, but in how he behaves. Maybe he starts asking for your advice, not on superficial things, but on things that really matter to him. That's vulnerable. It means he values your perspective enough to let it influence his decisions. Or maybe he starts to show you his fears around love and commitment, maybe not all at once, but in pieces. He might admit that he's been hurt before, or that he's scared of being not enough. Again, this isn't weakness, this is realness. It's a sign that he's not trying to impress you anymore, he's trying to connect with you. And perhaps most importantly, vulnerability also means being emotionally impacted by you. When a man is emotionally detached, your silence doesn't bother him. Your sadness doesn't move him. Your joy doesn't uplift him. But when a man is emotionally attached and allows himself to be vulnerable, you affect him. You matter, he lets you in, and because of that, he's no longer numb, he's invested. That investment is emotional. And once that emotional door is open, he begins to show you his heart, even if he's still figuring out how to express it. It's also important to note that vulnerability doesn't always look like softness. Sometimes it looks like conflict. A man who is emotionally attached might start to express frustration, disappointment, or even jealousy. Not because he's trying to control you, but because he's scared of losing something he cares about. Emotionally distant men often avoid hard conversations. But a man who's attached will face emotional discomfort if it means preserving the relationship. That's vulnerability too. Being honest even when it's uncomfortable. And of course, vulnerability has a flip side. It invites your vulnerability in return. Once he begins opening up, you'll feel more invited to share your own fears, hopes, doubts, and desires. That mutual exchange creates emotional intimacy. It's no longer a performance of two perfect people trying to impress each other. It's two real people learning to understand and love each other as they are. So if you're wondering whether a man is emotionally attached, ask yourself this: has he let me see the unfiltered version of himself? Has he shared thoughts that don't come with a punchline or a pretty bow? Has he shown signs of fear, doubt, insecurity, or truth, even in brief, quiet moments? If the answer is yes, even in small doses, then know this: you're not just scratching the surface, you're inside. You've passed a test he may not even know he was giving, because for a man to be vulnerable is not easy. It's not natural, it's not instinctive. But when he does it with you, it means he sees you as different, as safe, as worth the risk. That's not just openness, that's emotional attachment, the kind that matters most. When a man is emotionally impacted by you, it means you don't just occupy space in his life. You influence his internal world. You affect his mood, his thoughts, and his decisions, even when you're not physically present. He doesn't just enjoy your company or appreciate your qualities, he feels you deeply. And that emotional shift is one of the most powerful indicators of attachment. Think about it. Emotional impact means you've reached a place in his heart where your feelings matter to him, not as a responsibility, but as a reflection of his own emotional state. When you're happy, he feels lighter. When you're distant, he notices and feels unsettled. When you're hurting, he's not just sympathetic, he's genuinely affected. That connection is no longer transactional. It's rooted in care, empathy, and emotional resonance. You'll start to see it in the way he reacts to your emotional cues. If you're withdrawn or off, he doesn't just carry on with his day, he leans in. He asks if you're okay, even if it's uncomfortable. He doesn't just dismiss your feelings, whether you're overthinking it or you're too sensitive. Instead, he listens, even if he doesn't fully understand yet. Why? Because your emotional well-being has started to affect his. This kind of emotional investment goes far beyond surface attraction. A man who's emotionally impacted by you isn't just connected to the good times. He's connected to you, your highs and lows, your complexity, your humanity. And that kind of connection shifts how he shows up. He doesn't just want to be near you. He wants to protect what he feels with you. And when something goes wrong between you, even if it's small, it stays with him. It lingers. Ever noticed how someone emotionally unavailable can upset you and move on like nothing happened? That's detachment. But a man who's emotionally invested will carry that weight with him. If he feels he's hurt you, disappointed you, or lost your trust, it bothers him. Even if he doesn't know how to fix it right away, he can't just shake it off. That's because your emotions are now tied to his own. This emotional influence also shows up in how he responds to your presence. When a man is emotionally attached, you'll see subtle shifts in his energy when you walk into a room. He might light up. He might become calmer. He might stand taller, engage more, or simply soften in your presence. That's not just chemistry. That's emotional alignment. You're not just a date on his calendar. You're a stabilizing force in his world. Your presence brings him peace, or excitement, or grounding. Whatever it is, it moves him. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Being emotionally impacted doesn't always look like romance. Sometimes it looks like discomfort. It means he cares enough to feel anxious when something feels off. It means he wrestles with fear, doubt, or even jealousy because the connection means something to him. A man who feels nothing doesn't react. But a man who's emotionally affected by you might sometimes overthink, pull back to process, or become frustrated when he doesn't know how to express what he's feeling. That isn't a red flag, it's a sign that he cares deeply. He just might not have the language for it yet. Over time, you'll also notice that your opinion starts to matter more. He might seek your feedback on important decisions. He might feel validated when you're proud of him or deflated when you're disappointed. That's because your emotional presence holds weight. He sees you not just as a companion, but as a reflection of something deeper within himself. If he's unsure, your encouragement settles him. If he's lost, your belief gives him direction. And when a man reaches this level of emotional connection, he begins to want to reciprocate in a more intentional way. It's not just about being there. It's about showing up for you emotionally. He starts asking deeper questions. He wants to understand what makes you tick, not just to impress you, but to support you. He's no longer guessing what makes you happy. He's studying it. Because now, your joy and fulfillment matter to him in a way that feels personal. One of the clearest signs a man is emotionally impacted by you is when he starts evolving emotionally himself. He starts working on his communication, his patience, his emotional maturity, not because you asked, but because he wants to meet you where you are. You've inspired growth in him. You've pulled something out of him he didn't know he had, or maybe didn't feel safe enough to access with anyone else. When you're not around, he misses more than your presence. He misses the feeling he has when he's with you. That safety, that clarity, that sense of being seen. And when a man reaches that level of attachment, it's no longer about whether you check all the boxes. It's about whether life feels right when you're in it and empty when you're not. That's what it means when a man is emotionally impacted by you. It means he doesn't just like you, he feels you. And he feels who he becomes when he's around you. And in the quiet, private corners of his heart, that connection becomes impossible to ignore. It becomes something he thinks about, protects, and slowly but surely chooses to fight for.